In today's video, I'm going to show you how to customize Rhino so you can have a better experience while you design. So let's get started. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to customize Rhino so when you're designing, you can adapt it to your necessities and to the style of whatever you want to design. So let's go into my computer. So here I'm going to start Rhino, and what we're going to do is we're going to customize the way it looks. And usually it looks like something like this. Nothing too interested. And I'm going to give you a couple of my favorite tools that I always use. A lot of us are used to the way Matrix looks, or that dark look, and I like it. It's good to your eyes. And let's try to customize it so you can change it to be a little bit more fun for you to design. So you can pick the colors that you want. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the color of the background. And what we're going to do is we're going to click on this button right here that it says options. And we're going to go to appearance. And right under appearance, we're going to click this little arrow and we're going to go into colors. Here's where you can change the background, your grid lines, and a lot of other things that you can use in this, even the way that your IO looks. So let's get started with the background. Let's say we're going to go for the Matrix look. Let's start with that. So first thing, the background is black, right? And these grid lines, we're going to change them also to a little bit darker. Okay. So what we're going to do is, this is the major grid line. So that one, we're going to go like dark. So we're going to go okay. And the second grid line, we're going to go a little bit less dark. So we're going to probably a little bit lighter right there. I'm going to click OK. So as you can see, it's changing, but not as much as we wanted to. So let's go with that one. And the major, we're going to leave it a little bit. So let's go with a minor grid line. And that one, we're going to make it a little bit darker. So maybe there. And it's going to look a little bit more pleasing. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Let's go in here so we can see. Okay, click OK. And then we're going to view it. All right, that's a little bit better. I think it's still not dark enough. So I'm just going to grab here. I'm going to go a little bit darker. I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to click on this one. And I'm going to go a little bit darker. Click OK. All right, that's much better. Now we're going to change our green and a red line. So let's go here and change x-axis. And we're just going to go bring it down here a little bit darker. Not too much. And we're going to go into your y-axis. And I'm just going to go a little bit darker there. And that should be a little bit more pleasing. There it is. See, now we're going to change all the background view, all the colors, so it'll be a little bit darker. So what we're going to do is we're going to start using this window colors. We're going to go a little bit darker. So for text, let's go. Well, first let's start changing color one. It's gray, and let's start going with like dark gray color. See what changes. All right, not too bad. Let's go with the next one. Let's go a dark gray color. And that's a little bit better. Let's go with window number 3. And let's go with a light gray. That's not too bad. Let's change color 1. See if a darker or a black color helps. All right, that's not too bad. I think it's a little too dark. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it less darker. Okay, that's a little bit better. I can still see my tools a little bit less just there. Okay, not too bad. Okay, so now let's keep changing some of this. Let's go with our border, which is a little bit blue. So that one, let's go with a gray color. Let's see. Okay, not too bad. And let's go. So window text, it's black. And let's see, in active viewport, it's in dark gray. Let's change it to, let's say, turquoise. So as you can see now, this is changing the color. So okay, I don't mind at all. Let's put our options here. It doesn't let me size the options. Okay. So now active viewport and inactive viewport. So I'm gonna change them again. I'm gonna go with cyan when it's active, and I'm gonna go with turquoise when it's not active. I'm gonna go okay, click OK. So whenever this is active, there you go. And if I hit it, it just gets a little bit brighter. Okay, that's a little bit better. This is probably a little bit better looking than what you're used to. Feedback, it's black, so on my feedback I probably want like a light gray, and since these are white, we're just gonna leave them alone. For my selected objects, I don't like the yellow. Usually I like this weird either purple or magenta. Let's go with well, since it's yellow, we're just gonna go a darker yellow. How about that when we select an object? Okay, just darker. And log objects, we're gonna keep it in, let's say yellow, a little bit brighter. And new layer, we're gonna leave it in, let's say what would be a good color for a new layer? Let's go with light gray. So every time I put a new layer, it's gonna default to this color. Okay, another thing that I'm gonna change here in Rhino, it has to do with my files, and it's gonna be here. Usually I have backup. I always have a backup in case something happens and crashes. It always has a backup drive. And right here where it says autosave, I put to save my model every 10 minutes, and I already have a path where it actually saves it. I usually leave it there, but I change it to save every 10 minutes. You can put 20, every 5 minutes if you want to. My go-to is usually 10 minutes. Every 10 minutes, it's gonna save whatever I'm doing. It's gonna save it, and it's gonna create my backup. So we're gonna put that, and we're gonna click OK. So let's change something else. So now here where it says general, the limit of commands that I can pop up, I'm gonna increase it to maybe 40. And the maximum of megabytes to change, I'm gonna go to 500 or 512, which that's the most. And we're gonna leave that. So let's continue changing. Another major thing that I change when I'm using Rhino is I go and I change my lines, my designing lines. I make them a little bit thicker so they stand out when I design. So I'm gonna go here to display modes and view. And as you can see, they look blue. It's because they're being modified. So I go in this object areas, I open up this square and I go to objects and I open up again and I go to curves. So when I go to curves, usually I put it to 2 pixels. Usually it's in 1, it's there, but I like to leave it at 2 because every time I draw a line, it's just a little bit thicker. It makes it stand out when you're designing it. It doesn't look so thin. So I do that for all the views that I use. Okay, now let's go to shade it and unshade it. I click on it. This is, you can control it on your view, but on objects, I always click those two, shade highlights and shade highlights and selected meshes. This one, when you select something, it selects it as a solid piece and it's not see-through. It's not like an X-ray or any other way. It just selects the whole piece and it kind of makes it stand out better. So I like doing that. And I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna go to curves and I have it at 2. And I'm gonna do the same for render, ghosted, and X-ray. Okay, so now let's change the grid view. And that's something I really like to change. Just it makes it a little bit easier to work with because I don't really work with big pieces. But usually I go in here and I click on grid. And right here, the only thing I change is my grid line count. And it's 100. So I like to have it around, let's say 40. And as you can see now, my grid line has changed. And it's a little bit smaller. And that's a little bit better to use. So every square is 10. So it's 10, 20, 30, 40. You can use the smaller. You can use 20 if you want. But I think 40 is a good starting point. If I select, well, we can make it smaller. We can do 20 if you want. Let's go to 20. And I click OK, and there it is. If I right click on it, it's always gonna default to that. So that's not bad. That's 20 millimeters. But in my taste, I like, let's go 30. Let's go in between. So that's a little bit better. I like that. And I'm gonna change the grid lines a little bit darker because I still feel they're a little too bright. So let's go back into color, appearance, and color, and let's go to my major grid line. Go a little bit darker. And then let's go to our major grid line. Let's go a little bit darker. There you go. That's a lot more pleasing. So this way it looks more like matrix. That's easier to work with. I know some people really like that matrix look. You know, it makes it easier for them to work, especially if they're working dark areas and they just need to be easier on the eyes. Personally, I like it just kind of more white. That helps me a lot better. But at least now you know how to change it into that matrix gem vision look. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna reset Rhino and I'm gonna start from scratch, and I'm gonna show you how I kind of customize it to my like. Okay, so let's get back into the computer, and what you do is just go back to your options and you can just hit restore defaults. Colors, let's go to grid, and same. We'll still change it, but it's usually at 100. And if I go to here, it restore all the colors the way it used to. I really don't mind this at all. So the first thing I do is, again, let's start with the grid because this is the top one. We leave it at, let's say, 30. We'll leave it there, and then you have your grid line. The first thing I always go is I go to my appearance and I change the color. So my background, I like it white. And the reason that I use white is because I print a lot of paper, and sometimes what I need is I need to print the pages, because if I'm meeting with somebody and I like to have the paper in my hands and make notes, let's say, can we change this, change that? Sometimes if we're in the computer, it's hard for me to have notes from here and there, but I like to have them in paper and just like, oh, you wanted to change here, you wanted to change that, measurements, and that makes it easier. And also I can email those papers or email them to my customer, those screenshots, and they can send me back all the information they want. So sometimes if we're long distance, we can both have the same sheets, and we make our notes and we just share them with each other. So that's the only reason why I like white. I've grown accustomed to it. So let's start again. My major grid line, we're gonna go with gray, and my minor grid line, I just go with light gray. And usually that does it for me. And what I do is I go a little bit wider on my x-axis. Was it X? Yeah. And then a little bit lighter on my y-axis, just a little bit duller looking. That's not too bad, still too bright. So let me go a little bit more towards gray, maybe there, and let me do the same for the green. See, that's a lot better. That seems a lot better for me. And that's kind of basically it. I don't need to change these colors because I like just the way they are. Sometimes if I'm a little bit fatigued, what I do is just my background, I'll go with light gray, and that kind of helps me. But most of the time I just leave it in white color. You can't see my screen, but my monitor, it's a 45-inch monitor, and it's very the backlight, it's very dim, and the color is not very saturated, so it's not really hitting me with this bright light on my face, on my eyes. It makes me less tired, and you know, my eyes are adjusted to it. And if you can see, if I go to view and I go to my display modes, let me open them here. See, they still retain the same changes that I made, the objects, the curves. Let's go to curves. See, they're still at 2. So I really like that. Let's go shade objects. They're highlighted. I go to curves. Okay, at 2. Back, render objects, highlighted. Perfect. I open curves. All right. Usually I don't put curves in render, but ghosted is very essential for me. Okay, they're there. Open it up, curves, perfect. And just when I design, sometimes I use X-ray. It's not very common that I use it. Okay, they're there. Let me check on curves. Perfect. Okay, so this is basically how I change it to work with my use. In this video, I'm gonna give you a couple shortcuts for viewing. I've been asking a little bit of my shortcuts, and that is one of the major ones, especially when I'm designing, is Control M. So if you hold Control and M, it changes to my 4 views, and if I hit it again, it changes to the view I had before. Now, most of the time, if I need to review something, Control M, and I have it there. You know what? Let me open a file real quick. Okay, so I have this job here. Let's grab the background, hide it. So the way I hide it is Control H. I just hide my background. If I'm gonna take pictures, change my grid line and F7. And this way I can change my views really quick. Control M, it's gonna show my 4. And what you can do as well is you can go to one of your views. See how it's highlighted? If I go Control M, Control Tab, it's gonna change to here. It's gonna change to that. So Control M, I change my views, Control M, perspective, Control M. All right, so the way to reset them is just right click on the 4 views. It's gonna go back into, kind of zoom in into the piece and let you look at the piece a little bit more expanded. And usually that's when I take a screenshot. Windows has this tool that I love, it's called Snipping Tool. And it kind of looks like this, and you know, I'll just grab it and take a snipping shot of my screen, and there it is. Once I do it, I can just save this and email it. So right there is just perfect to take a snapshot and share this screen with anybody over my sheet. That's the only reason why I like using white. All right, friends, I hope that this video was useful to you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you have a comment or a question, put it on the comment section below. And if you're really serious about taking your design to the next level and learn about manufacturing, designing for manufacturing, in the description below, there's a link to a free training just for you guys. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video so YouTube promotes our videos. That'll be really, really helpful. And, you know, hit the bell so YouTube lets you know every time we make new tutorial for you. That's it for today, friends. I'll see you in another video. Ciao.